Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First, let's use extend good presents and let's use extend our greetings to our Lord, the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Peace and blessing be upon you. We of Group 7 will release material on analysis and interpreting quantitative data. Before I start my presentation, it would be good to introduce my friends who will help me to lay out this material. Okay, first, I'm Febri Syahpiana, second Hukaima, third Nur Handayani, and the last is Ramla. Before we start, let's say is Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, what are steps in the process of quantitative data? There are several interrelated steps used in the process of analyzing quantitative data. The first step is to prepare the data for analysis. This involves determining how to assign numeric scores to the data, assessing the types of scores to use, selecting a statistical program, and inputting the data into a program, and then clean up the database for analysis. The second step begins the data analysis. Typically, you conduct a descriptive analysis of the data reporting, measure of central tendency and variation. Then you conduct more sophisticated inferential analysis to test hypotheses, and you examine confidence intervals and effect size. The next step is to report the results that are found using tables, figures, and a discussion of the key results. Finally, you interpret the results from the data analysis. This consists of summarizing the results, comparing the results with past literature and theories, advancing the limitation of the study, and ending with suggestion for future research. How do you prepare the data for analysis? The first step for you will be to organize data for analysis. Preparing and organizing data for analysis in quantitative research consists of scoring the data and creating a codebook, determining the types of scores to use, selecting a computer programs, inputting the data. Score the data. Scoring data means that the research against a numeric scores to each response category for each questions on the instruments used to collect data. For instance, assume the parents respond to a survey asking them to indicate their attitude about choice of children in the school district. One question might be, please check the appropriate response this statement. Students should be given an opportunity to select a school of their choice. Strongly agree, undecided, disagree, and strongly disagree. Determine the types of scores to analysis. Single times attempt scores. A single attempt score is an individual score assigned to each question for each participant in your study. These scores provide a detailed analysis of each person, response to each question on an instrument. Sum scores are the scores of An individual handed over several questions that measure the same variable. Difference scores. Not all difference scores are scores in a quantitative study that represent a difference or change of each individual. Some gains might be more meaningful than others. A small change in high scores might be more useful than a large change in a small scores. Okay, the next material for my partner, and time is yours.
Okay, my name is Huema and now I will explain the next material. A single item scores. Select a statistical program. Find a program with documentation about how to use the program. Ease of use is an important factor when selecting a program. Look for a program that includes the types of statistics that you will use to answer your research question and hypothesis, and make sure that the program can analyze the amount of data in your database. Locate a program with the capability to output graphs and tables that you can use in your research reports. If you need to purchase the software program, which the cost of the various programs, student versions of programs are available, or although they may have limited statistical tests at minimal cost. And the last, select a program that your campus uses so that you can find a sentence to answer questions when they arise. And the next, input data. Inputting the data occurs when the researcher transfers the data from the response on instruments to a computer file left for analysis. Enter the data from scores on the instruments in the course of the gears by selection equal and typing the appropriate value. And follows are the number assignment to respond obtained for a variable each1 small 2 family. Assigns an identification number to each participant and place this number in the first column, or use the predetermined number assigned in column 1 by SPSS, or in you can see inside column here, and A E 001 and 002 003, or 343 344 345. And you earn numbers when reflect the last 3 digits in the individual social security number. And inside column EG 343 344 and 345, or some other indefinite number. In CPSS, you will see counts hits listed as variables. In this, you can see and support rather than use these headers. Replace them with names of your variables. You can see, and you can also assign names to both values and variables, so that your printout contains these names and provides an easy way to identify your information. You can assign names to your variables, such as parents, as well as values for this variable, such as merit, recover it, and separate it. And next, clean and account for missing data. Cleaning the database. The first, cleaning the database. Cleaning the data is the process of inspecting the data for scores or values that are outside the accepted range. One way to accomplish this by visually inspecting the data grid for a larger database of frequency distribution or discussed shortly will provide the range of scores to the last response outside of a comfortable range. And for example, participants may provide a 6 for a strongly agree to strongly disagree scale when there are only 5 response of times. And the second, assessing the database for missing data. Missing data are data missing in the database because participants do not supply it. You can expect, however, that questions will be omitted or some participant will not supply information for whatever reason. In this case, you have a couple of options. You can eliminate participants with missing score from the data analysis and include only choose participants for which complete data exists. And you can substitute number for missing data in the database for individuals. And last, how do you analyze the data? And the first, descriptive statistic that indicates general tendencies in the data, or mean, modern, median. The spread of scores, variance, standard deviation, and range, or a comparison of how one score relates to all others. Z score is percentually range. And the second, inferential statistic, in which we analyze data from a sample to draw conclusions about an unknown population. And the three, relates two or more variables, e.g. the self-esteem relates to an optimist attitude. And last, test hypothesis about the difference in the group or the relationships of variables, e.g. boys have higher self-esteem than girls, or self-esteem predicts an optimistic attitude among middle school children. To answer a third of these questions, inferential statistics are also used. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce myself. My name is Nurul Handani. Okay, next, determining effect size. We can calculate effect size between group in our high schools. Mungkin example, research, for example, could examine the means in table 6.6 and see that the mean score were 10.2 point upper a 6 table depend on a 100 point scale. More precisely, we calculate effect size and report them in terms of standard deviation units. Okay, next, report the result. Tables. A table is a summary of quantitative data organized into rows and columns. Typically, a table for reporting results contains quantitative information, but they might contain text information such as summary of case studies found in the literature or an incorporated earlier in a study before the result. Next, figures. A figure is a summary of quantitative information presented as a card, graph, or picture that show relation among scores or variables. Next, detailed explanation about the statistical result. In a presentation of result, the research present the detailed information about the specific result of the descriptive and inferential statistical analysis. This process requires explaining the central result of each statistical test and presenting this information use language acceptable to quantitative research. Okay, next, interpret the result. Summary the major result. A summary is a statement that reviews the major conclusion to each of the research question or hypothesis. This summary is different from the result. It uh, represents general rather than specific conclusion. A specific conclusion in the result would include detail about statistical tests, significant levels, and effect size. General conclusion state overall with whether the hypothesis was rejected or whether the research question was support or not support. Why the result occurred. After this summary, research explain why the research turned out the way they did. Often this explanation is based on returning to prediction made from the theory or conceptual framework that guide the development of research question or hypothesis. Okay, next, advanced limitation. Limitation are potential weaknesses or problems with the study identified by the research. These weaknesses are enumerated one by one, and they often relate to inadequate measure or variables, loss or lack or participant, small sample size, errors in measurement, and other factors typically related to data collection and analysis. These limitations are useful to other potential researchers who might choose to conduct a similar or replication study. Next, uh, suggest future research. Future research direction are suggestion made the research about additional studies that need to be conducted based on result of their present research. research. These suggestion are a natural link to the limitation of a study, and they provide useful direction for new research and rather who are interested in exploring need areas of inquiry or applying research to educational practice. Data analysis and interpretation in the parent involvement study. To obtain an overview of the process of quantitative data analysis and interpretation, we can turn once again to the foreign involvement study by this Landis and Bertrand, 2005, with some advanced statistic used by the author. It is easy to focus on statistics and miss the overall picture of analysis and interpretation unfolding in this study.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce, my name is Ramla from Class B English Education Department 2019. Okay, I will explain the material about examining data analysis and interpretation in the parent involved study and key ideas in the chapter. Examining data analysis and interpretation in the parent involvement study. To obtain an overview of the process of quantitative data analysis and interpretation, we can turn once again to the parent involvement study by Deslandes and Bertrand, 2005. With some advances statistic used by the author, it is easy to focus on statistics and miss the overall picture of analysis and interpretation unfolding in this study. Key ideas in the chapter. Number 1. Identify the step in the process of analyzing and interpreting quantitative data. The step in the process of quantitative data analysis and interpretation involve verbs. Preparing your numeric data for analysis using statistical programs. Conduction. The chapter 6, Analysis and Interpreting Quantitative Data. 201. Analysis using statistics, the ripple but descriptive and inferential result, representing and reporting the result using tables, figures, and a discussion of each statistical test, and finally, interpreting the result by restating the general finding, comparing the finding to past literature, maintaining the functional imitation of the study, and advancing ideas that will extend to research in the future. Number 2. Preparing your data for analysis. After collecting numeric scores on instrument or through observation, quantitative researchers need to prepare and organize their data for statistic analysis. This process consists of assigning numeric scores to each response obtained an instrument or the instrument does not already include this information. Determining whether single item, net, or different scores will be used in the analysis, and selecting a computer software program to analyze the data. Next, the investigator enters the data into a computer file by building a data grid consisting of variables and their value. Number 3. Analysis the data. With the data set built, the researchers begins the process of analyzing the data to address the research question or hypothesis. Some questions may call for describing trend in the data, and then researchers uses descriptive analysis such as measures of central tendency, the spread of the scores, and the relative ranking of the scores. Number 4. Reporting the result. Whether the analysis consists of descriptive, of inferential analysis, or both, the researchers present results in the tables, figures, and a detailed discussion of the result. This detailed discussion involves presenting information about the result of each statistical test and presenting information using language acceptable to quantitative researchers. Number 5. Interpreting the result. Finally, investigators conclude their results by summarizing the detailed result in general statement. They also provide explanation for their finding based on prior prediction made in the literature or in theories, and they contrast the result with past research. It is also important in concluding a study to advance imitation to the research, noting potential weaknesses that might have affected the result. This is imitation built directly into suggestion for future research that will improve the weakness and further contribute to the literature on a topic. Thank you.